From Cornwall to Birmingham and Johnston and Bexhill, here's Ruben Spar on the radio.
Hello to sarahrichesmusic. How are you today?
Hello there. Thank you so much, Ruben, for having me. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you.
Thank you for letting me chat to you today. So, can you tell me, how long have you been a singer-songwriter for?
Oh, gosh, a really long time now. So I've been writing and recording probably for the last 20 years or so. So yeah, I really look the writing side of it actually for me is the most important side of it. I really, really enjoy it.
So, does writing come naturally to you?
Yeah, I just found out that I could write by accident, really. I was working with a songwriting duo and I was there just as a vocalist. I wasn't really there to do anything other than sing and make the tea. And then I came away and I thought, "Do you know what? I've got a lot of ideas here. There's a lot of things I think I could write about. And always found it easier to express myself by writing things down. I'm a lot more articulate, I think, when I write things down and see it in writing. And songwriting gives you the opportunity to really say what you really think in the most articulate way that you can, because you've had the time to do it, you've had time to think about it. So yeah, intelligent lyrics are really important to me. Whenever I listen to songs on the radio, I think, oh, if you just spent just a little bit longer on that lyric, that could have been a really clever lyric. But so I get a bit disappointed sometimes when I listen to songs and there doesn't seem to have been that much thought in the lyrics.
So, I know you recorded your album in Nashville. So, how about, did you record your debut single called Train Man in Nashville, or did you record it like back in UK?
Yeah, no, that was back in the UK. So I've actually got a couple of albums out. I've got an album called Come Around, and which was recorded in the UK. And at the time, that was more sort of influenced. It wasn't really country at the time. I was sort of heavily influenced by singer-songwriters like Carole King and Joni Mitchell and Fleetwood Mac. So that particular album, Come Around, has got quite a lot of that flavour in it. And then Train Man came around because I got back in touch with a school friend, and he was telling me all about how he'd met his wife on a train, and it was just such a beautiful story. And their anniversary was coming up, and I said to him, would it be okay if I could write a song about their really lovely story about how they met? And so that's how that came about. But then I was starting to turn the corner a little bit then into more of a sort of country sound, and I then got signed by a manager during lockdown, and he spotted me just singing in my kitchen with all the kitchen acoustics. Train Man was one of the songs that he saw me do, but yeah, he signed me and he said, do you realise that all your songs have always got a story, and that is very much the country theme? Have you thought about writing country songs? And at the minute he said it, it was like a light bulb moment, and I switched on and I thought, gosh, actually, yes, that really does feel more like me. So I kind of immersed myself in the country sound, and then he arranged for me to go to Nashville to go and record an album of 10 original songs that I'd written, and I worked with a guy called Fred Mollin, who I still can't understand why he wanted to work with me, because he's worked with everybody. You know, he really has worked with, you know, the likes of Vince Gill and Jimmy Webb, J.D. Souther, who's recently passed away, but used to write all the song or a lot of the songs for the Eagles. He worked with Chris Christopherson, and I was just flabbergasted, really, that he wanted to work with me. But I had the most fantastic time over there in Nashville. Recorded it in 2022, and then I had to sit on it for a year whilst I waited to be able to to afford to be able to promote it because I was working independently by then, because my manager had very sadly passed away before I even got to Nashville.
So what was it like being signed?
It was a shock. It was an absolute shock because everything was going horribly wrong, wasn't it? We had COVID going on and some really sad things happening. I was associated with training students for the NHS at the time. So I'm an audiologist and a clinical lecturer, and I was working for a university. And I got a lot of my students were still out in the workforce in the NHS trying to keep everything together, So it was a real shock. It was a real, I was literally just singing in my kitchen, put something up online, and he spotted me and signed me on the spot, really. So yeah, and then the Nashville door opened, and I worked with Fred, and it was just such a strange time. And then my manager passed away, so yeah, it was just sort of a really bittersweet time because good things happened, but then also very, very sad things happened as well. There was a lot to deal with at the time. So that's why the album's called I Don't Give Up Easily, because there was such a lot occurring.
That must have been quite hard when your manager died.
It was just dreadful, and it all happened so quickly as well. So, he'd been so kind. I'd only worked with him for a few months really, and he'd created a lot of opportunities for me, and then he was more excited about me going to Nashville than I was, I think, because I hadn't quite realized it was really, really happening. And so I was just so sad I couldn't go with him because he was so looking forward to it. And ever since then, really, I've just been trying to make him proud, and I just keep thinking, what would he say now when I'm trying to steer my own journey and work independently?
We have to chat about that working independently a bit later on. So, can you tell me more about Lost and Found?
Yeah, so Lost and Found was the interim EP. So I'd got my first album, which was the Come Around album, which is very much the singer-songwriter one. Then the Lost and Found EP had got Train Man on it. And it had also got another song, which was a duet, which was definitely going down the sort of Lady Antebellum kind of route. And then there were a few covers on there as well, and one of the covers, all of the covers on there were artist approved, but one of them was For You, which was originally by Judy Zook, and she was actually a friend of my manager, and we were really nervous about doing it, but we got a full approval and we sent it to her, and crossing everything, fingers, toes, everything we could, thinking, please like it, because obviously it was such an iconic song for her. And she absolutely loved it. And she really loved what we'd done with it, and fully approved it. So I was so delighted because it was quite scary doing that. And I did a video where I had to walk along a very cold, very pebbly Welsh beach, and I was absolutely freezing, and it rained, and had to sit in the sea, and I think I was pretty much blue by the time we'd finished filming that particular video.
A bit like the weather outside at the moment, a bit wet. So, yeah. So what was it like recording your debut full album in Nashville? What was that like, going to Nashville recording your debut album?
It was. I was absolutely terrified because I was working with this huge name in the music business. I couldn't quite get my head around. I think he'd just finished working. He'd not long done Rumours, Nashville Tears album with her. I think he'd just finished working with Johnny Mathis and Kristin Chenoweth. By the time I got over, he'd just flown back from LA, I believe. Fred, and I was just like, hello, I'm Sarah from Cannock, and it just felt so surreal. I couldn't quite get my head around the fact that he was working with me. And then the musicians that he employed to work on the project, most of them are regular artists at the Grand Ole Opry. So I literally, they laughed at me because I was really quiet because I was so overwhelmed and I was so nervous about letting people down. And they just kept taking the mickey out of me and saying, "Oh, she's a quiet one, Fred, isn't she?" And but what was so lovely was they were working in the control room, looking at the tracks, looking at the music, and working out the chords and everything. And then they go in and do a couple of takes, and it would just be absolutely beautiful. And I'd be in my little vocal booth, just trying to keep up, just thinking, "Come on, Sarah, you wrote these songs, it's okay." And they were coming out going, "Oh, that was a great one, Sarah, I really like that one." And I was like, "Thank you." I just was like a little frightened mouse most of the time. But Fred was brilliant. He really looked after me. He kept feeding me, making sure I was okay, looked after and comfortable, and made to feel very welcome. The southern charm is definitely there in Tennessee there.
So tell me more about your debut album called I Don't Give Up Easily.
Yeah, so that was the Nashville album. So Fred gave me, I think I had about 3 months in total to write 12 brand new tracks. And some of them obviously didn't quite make the cut. There's only 10 on the album. But that meant that we could concentrate on those 10 really. And we just had to choose the best 10 out of the 12. So it was really exciting time, and just so lovely to have it produced in the Nashville way. So, you hear so many artists saying, "Oh, Nashville this and Nashville that," and it's, I totally understand why. There's a particular sound that the Nashville studios produce, and it's just magic.
So, talking about Nashville, what was it like to appear in the Nashville in the rounds in Birmingham last year?
Yeah. Do you know, I'm such a fan of that show. So I've been going for quite some time. I was just always in the audience. I just absolutely loved it. I love hearing the stories behind people's songs. I think it's absolutely fascinating, because I know how I write, and I'm always really interested to hear what sort of sparked certain ideas and certain themes in other people's songs as well. So as a writer, it's just absolutely fascinating to hear how the other artists have gone about it, and what the songs mean to them. And sometimes you've completely interpreted them wrong. You've heard them on the radio, or you've streamed their song, and you think, "Oh, I can really relate to that. Yeah, that's happened to me," and blah blah blah. And then they explain what the song's really about, and then you find out actually, it wasn't about a romantic situation. It was about their cat or something like that. So it's just really interesting to hear the truth behind the songs sometimes. And Sally and Steve, who are the hosts and are collectively known as Gasoline and Matches, they have been absolutely brilliant in I suppose mentoring me, really, pushing me in the right direction, just sort of doing some very casual introductions for me, and just really being in my corner and really being my cheerleaders. And I really appreciate that, because I was brand new to the country scene. I only released my first singles off the album in March in 2023, and my album in April 2024. So 2023 as well. So I've not been around that long, really, and I've been really lucky in the progress that I've made, given that I've been doing it independently since I came back from Nashville.
So, what was it like to be a finalist at the UK Country Music Awards this year?
Yeah, do you know, I felt incredibly lucky, because I was there last year as well. So I was nominated in the same three categories in 2023 and this year too. So and also I was very lucky to be on the same list as some really incredible artists in the BCMA Awards for Best Female Artist as well last year. So I don't honestly know how. When you look at who was on the lists, it's like, I was sort of rubbing shoulders with Kezia Gill on posters, and I was thinking, really, this is, I'm brand new. So I'm just very, very grateful. And a lot of it, well, most of it really was down to the radio play that I'd managed, and the very kind support of the DJs for various different radio stations, but also my lovely followers. I'm so lucky that I've got such a great support with my followers. They just are behind me all the way, which is lovely.
So, can you tell me more about Hopefully Devoted to You, to Olivia?
Oh, yeah. No, yes. So when I was over in Nashville, the musicians over there kept referring to me as Olivia Newton-John. And because obviously they were listening to my voice and could hear some similarities. And then when the album came out, the DJs that were listening to it and playing the tracks, they kept saying it as well. And in the end, I just gave in, because people kept saying, Sarah, maybe there's something in this. Maybe you should do a tribute. And I'd always loved her. She was an absolute idol for me. And I'm just fortunate that my voice sometimes sounds like hers. But I was really thrilled, So I thought, well, enough people are saying this on a regular basis now. Maybe I should see what this is going to be all about. So I set up a band. So we're the only Olivia Newton-John tribute at the moment in the UK, and it's called Hopelessly Devoted to Olivia. So so we had our first show back in June, and it sold out in Lichfield in Staffordshire, and we had a great time and got a great response to it. So we're looking to see what we can do with it this year.
I look forward to hearing more about that. So, can you tell me more about your latest single going to release on the 6th of December, called We Need to Talk?
We can. Sorry, I've just had to change hands there. Yes. So, yes, it's called We Need to Talk, and it's about, sometimes you're in a relationship and you're a little bit scared to talk about what that relationship actually is with the other person that you're in the relationship with. And sometimes, one person has got more feelings than the other one, and you don't really. You kind of reach a bit of a crunch point where you need to have this conversation, but you don't really want to have the conversation just in case it goes wrong, and you're still holding out some hope that they may feel exactly the same way as you do. And it's about that, really. I think a lot of us have been in that situation at some point or other, where you're just scared to rock the boat, but you have reached that point where you do need to know. So it's about that.
So, I know you've got a couple of gigs coming weekend, but have you got any more for next year in the plans situation?
I do, yes. So, as I said, I love doing in the round shows. I really enjoyed being in Nashville Sounds in the round last year. It was about this time last year, actually. It was just coming up to Christmas, because we got to do a Christmas song, didn't we? I've done a few other in the round shows as well, so I'm always up for those if anybody wants to add me onto those. I've written down my dates for what I've got coming up with the full band. So I've got a 7-piece band who are absolutely brilliant. I'm really proud of them, and they're actually playing on the track, the latest single that's coming out on the 6th of December. So they're playing on We Need to Talk. So we're playing at Deesworth Blues Club on the 15th of March, we're also playing on the 10th of May at a top secret venue in Birmingham. I can't reveal what that is, but it's very exclusive. Country acts don't normally play there, and we've been very, very lucky to be asked to go and play there as the band. So I'll let you know about that when we can. And then we've got one on the 27th of November as well, which is back in Lichfield at the Hub at St Mary's, which is a beautiful venue. It used to be a church, and it's got gorgeous original features, beautiful stained glass windows, and it just feels really special when you're in there. It's a lovely, lovely atmosphere in there.
So you did have a manager, but he sadly passed away. So what's it like being an independent artist that you are now for you?
Yeah, it's hard work, and I think any of my contemporaries would say the same thing. You know, there's a lot of us that are in the same boat. We're all managing ourselves, and I think as a musician, as a writer, you know, you like doing the creative stuff. You like doing all of the you know, the creating the lyrics, you know, writing the melody, deciding what instruments you want, doing what on your tracks, um, following themes, you know, gathering inspiration and stuff from what's going on around you and what's happening in the world. And obviously we love the recording side of it and we love the performing side of it, but the you know it's an actual job, you know, so there's so much backroom stuff to do, as we call it. So, you know, there's endless emails that you're sending out. There's applying to do festivals, keeping in touch with venues, following up any emails and things that you receive. Trying to work out which is the best path for you. You know, sometimes you get offers and then they may not quite fit with your idea of where you see yourself going with your career. And yeah, there's a lot, you know. It's pretty much a 24-hour job, really, because a lot of the communications that you're doing are in the evening as well. So there's a lot going on, and I think that's the bit that's quite daunting sometimes. I am very lucky that I work with a company called Country Music Social Media alongside a lot of other artists, and they are fantastic at doing promotion in terms of getting you played on the radio and things like that. So they also do a lot of work in sort of helping you with the social media side as well. So so I'm lucky to have them, and they're a lovely team, and they always have your back and are there for advice and very, very supportive. And I think you just have to build a really good team around you. You know, I've got a great creative team around me who work with me to create my videos and do the photos and everything that goes alongside a release. Because I don't think people realise, like, you don't just sort of throw a song out there. You don't just stick it on the social, you know, on the distribution platforms like Spotify and iTunes and all the other platforms. You don't just throw it out there. There's a lot going on. You've got to have a lot of stuff ready, just in case, you know, it really takes off and people like it. And you know, you've always just got to put your best foot forward all the time and look as professional as you possibly can.
So finally, can you tell me, listeners, where can I find you on your social media?
Right, so you can find me on Facebook, on Instagram. You can find me on Linktree as well. If you just pop Linktree, Sarah Riches Music in, you should be able to find me there. My website, unfortunately, is down or not very functional at the moment. So yes, that's not the one to go for. But yeah, you can definitely find me on most social media platforms, and you can definitely find me on all of the listening platforms. Anywhere where you would normally like to stream, then you'll find me on there as well. And yes, you can contact me through social media or through my Linktree if anybody wants to buy an actual CD. Not many people have got CD players anymore, have they? So,
No, I have. That's the main thing.
yay.
So thank you for letting me chat to you today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's really lovely to have the chance to talk about my music and my journey.
And enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Ruben.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.